Hi everyone, this presentation is on me, your instructor, and what we're going to do this semester, a little bit about me. So let's get started. My name is Mickey Yanchevsky and I'll be your instructor this semester. So I wanted to welcome you to the class, and I already sent you one video, but in this slide presentation I want to talk a little bit about my education, a little bit about my career, and a little bit about me, and then just a little bit about where I'd like to go with the course. So I got my bachelor's degree in 1981, so you can figure out how old I am. I'm much older than I feel, but I got my education here at Towson University with a bachelor's degree in school and community health education. I finished my master's degree in 1986. Then in the 1980s and 90s, I was working on my doctorate at College Park, University of Maryland, and my studies were in women's health and human sexuality. However, I could not finish that degree because I was a single parent, and I had to give up something, and I could not give up work, and I could not give up my son, which was an obvious choice to give up my education. But right now, I'm in a doctoral program again in instructional technology at Towson, and I'm very near the end. I'm not ready to do my research yet, but I'm very close to that point, which is exciting. So here's a little bit about my early career when I first got out of school for the first 15 or 20 years of my career. So first, when I first got out of school, I actually started teaching at CCBC at the Dundalk campus and at Towson University part-time. Both of those were part-time positions. And I taught there from 1981 to 1994. And again, when my son was 2 and I became a single parent, I had to cut back. In 1982, while I was still working part-time at both of those jobs, I started teaching in it was a junior high. I was going to say middle school, but it was a junior high then in Prince George's County. It was the very furthest south end of Prince George's County, and I lived in Baltimore. It took me an hour and a half to get to work and over 2 hours to get home. But it was a full-time job, and I was excited to have it. I taught 8th grade health there, and there were 7th, 8th, and 9th graders in the building because it was a junior high. That was very fun, and I still remember some of my students. Then I moved to a Catholic school in Baltimore City. It was a Catholic school in a poverty-stricken neighborhood, and I taught grades 4 through 8. I taught science, math, and health, and one of the things I taught there was a family life curriculum for 4th graders to teach them about the responsibilities involved in parenting in hopes of them delaying their sexual activity. It was age appropriate. It was for 4th graders, and it was age appropriate. From there, I went to Baltimore City Schools. The first school where I taught was Patterson High School. When I was there, I taught a class on blood pressure and stress management because they had a grant from Hopkins, and it was to work with high school students who had already been identified with high blood pressure. And so I taught them about high blood pressure and heart disease, and we also did stress management techniques in the class. And that was interesting because I ran into some of those students probably 10 or 15 years later, and they were still using the techniques. From there, I moved to Falstaff Middle School where I taught all health, 8th grade health. And after several years of Falstaff Middle School, I received a position as the AIDS Prevention Education Facilitator for Baltimore City Schools. That was on a grant also from the Centers for Disease Control. And my job was to develop curriculum and train everyone in AIDS prevention. So I trained all the teachers who taught it. I trained all the staff, custodians, cafeteria workers, grounds crew, anybody who worked for the school system got the appropriate type of training for their career, for their jobs. And I also worked with parents and helping them teach their children about drugs and safer sex practices. From there, I went to Baltimore County Schools for a half-time position. I shared this position with someone else, and this is when I was in my doctoral program. And I was a worksite wellness coordinator there, and the other person and I shared a position. And what we did while we were there is that we ran wellness programming for all of Baltimore County school employees, and which is over 10,000 employees, and in about 100 or 110 different sites. So we worked really hard, and I think we had a budget of like $5,000 to run programming for 10,000 people. And we actually did a really good job. But that was a really exciting job, and this is like my first 15 or so years of my career. From that position, I became an assistant principal in Baltimore County at Dundalk Middle School, and this was very exciting for me because I grew up in Dundalk. So for me to end up back in Dundalk as an assistant principal was exciting to me because I could give back to the community. I was there for several years, and then I moved to the Community College of Baltimore County, first as a coordinator and then as a director, and I was in continuing education and professional development or economic development, and that's where they did trainings that did not require degrees. In this part of the community college, we were required to make enough money to support our staff. And so when I became director there, we were making about $200,000 a year gross. And when I left, we were making almost $2 million. So I learned a lot about business and all of the business aspect of health while I was at CCBC. And then when I left there, I came back to Towson. At first, I was back at Towson part-time while I was the director at CCBC. And when I was at Towson part-time, I started probably around 2010. And then in 2014, I became full-time lecturer at Towson University. And again, this is like a big circle back for me because I got my degree at Towson, and now I'm back at Towson, hopefully helping all of you learn some important things about health education. So here's a little bit about me personally. I have a son who was born in 1992, which makes him a little bit older than all of you. I was a single parent for most of that time, and so I understand all of you with family responsibilities or job responsibilities. I do understand that, but you just have to make priorities in your life. There's 3 photos here just to show you things that I like. One is biking. The first photo on the left is a place where I bike. It's one of my favorite places. It's only 5 miles each way, so it's 10 miles total. And it's called Enola, low grade, and it's in Pennsylvania. That's where I live. And I like it here, one, because it's on the water, and I love water. And the other thing is there's lots of eagles here. So there's lots of times that you get to see eagles. Last time I went biking there with someone, we were attacked by falcons. I'm assuming they had a fledgling that fell out of their nest, but it was pretty interesting. I also like to swim, and that's my pool. It's open usually from the beginning of May till the end of September. I keep it open as long as I can. Again, it's water, and I love just to look at the water if I'm not swimming. When it's open, I swim every day I can. And I also like to jog and walk, but as I've gotten older, I do that less often. So those are things that I like to do in my spare time. And so these are my goals for you. So I've been doing this for over 35 years. And I have lots of different experiences from lots of different settings as you listen to what I told you about my career. And so I'd like to share those experiences with you, and hopefully you'll gain something from the experiences I've had and might help you make some decisions about your careers. The second thing that we're going to do is that you're going to learn how to work in teams or groups. So this entire semester, as you've heard, you will be in teams or groups working on a health program. And the program varies a little bit every semester, but no matter what, if we go to the third items, no matter what the program is that we do, you will be planning, implementing, and evaluating a health education program. And so those are my 3 big goals for you. Share my experiences, really teach you how to be an effective team member, and then really focus on planning, implementing, and evaluating health education programs. This is a great course because it's not a course where you sit and memorize. You're putting all of your knowledge into practice by actually doing health education, which I think makes this a really exciting course. So those are my goals for you. If you haven't taken the pretest yet, you're going to be taking a pretest in the course. And then I ask you to create goals for yourself. So once you get your pretest scores back and you see where you fall in each of the 5 units, I'm asking you to make goals for yourself. And those goals that you make are going to help you write your major papers in the class. So I hope you enjoy this class. It is a lot of hard work. However, it is an amazing course, and I know you will get a lot out of it.